Hi, this is Trinesha Catrell, and welcome to First Love Yourself, where love, life, and Christ combine. I am so grateful to have you here on this journey of self discovery and empowerment with me. In today's video, we're going to talk about value, knowing your value. But before we get started, if you're new here, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more uplifting content like this. So get comfortable because we are about to get into it. Let's go. Okay. So earlier today, I was listening to some podcasts and just listening to sermons about knowing your value and being able to respond. And it's so funny because sometimes we feel like knowing our value means being the loudest, biggest person in the room. But knowing your value comes from within. Knowing who you are means that regardless of anyone else's opinion, you always know who and whose you are. And so earlier today, I was telling my story because I had a bunch of technical issues, technical difficulties. And so I started to share my testimony about how I became this or how I ended up in this point in my life, how First Love Yourself was created, all of the things. And I'm going to try to give you a short rundown of the story. So if you haven't read my book, it definitely goes more into detail, but I'm going to give you the gist of it. So pivot point for me was when I was in a long-term relationship, and in that relationship I lost myself and I really didn't know who I was. I was so used to being like a mom and, a wife and all of the things that I just kind of forgot about myself. And as I was going through life, I just kind of always felt like I never belonged anywhere. I just didn't fit anywhere. I was always so different, and I just thought that that was such a horrible thing. And from the moment that I met my first boyfriend until the time that I got divorced, I was always in a relationship. And so as I was going through this journey and I was constantly always with someone, I always was in that little bubble. I never really had the chance to really just heal from any relationship. I never had the chance to really heal in the right way. And so after I got out of the 15-year relationship, I decided to take a hiatus. I took about 2.5 years to myself to just mentally, emotionally, and spiritually heal. I rededicated my life to God because I reached a point in that past relationship where I just felt like I was all alone. Like I was with someone, but I was lonely. Like I felt like I was all by myself, and no one was around. It just kind of felt like empty. I wasn't serving a purpose. I wasn't doing anything with my life. I was just kind of living. I was alive, but I wasn't living. And as I got to the point where I just felt like I can't do this. I don't know where I am. I don't know who this person is. Everything else, I felt like defeated. I felt like, God, I don't know what to do. I had nowhere else to turn. I tried it my way. I chose the person that I wanted, not the person that God wanted for me. I chose the job, all of these things. Well, the position wasn't bad, but I kept choosing all of these things that weren't God, that God was nowhere in. And then I just gave up. I said, okay, God, I tried it my way. What is it that you want for me to do in my life? I gave everything to him. I literally was in the darkest, worst place I'd ever been in my entire life. And as I was in that moment, I turned to God and I was like, God, what is it that you want me to do? I said, I give you everything. I give you all of me. Like, just help me. And as I was there, upset, crying, everything else, God told me he never intended for me to ever have to go through this and to get up. I told him I didn't know what to do, like where to turn, how I was going to make it through this. And I had to just trust in God. I had to put all my faith in God to hope. And that was something I wasn't used to doing because I was always so cynical. I always wanted to believe the worst case scenario. I always thought that everything was just a feeble. I never thought that anything great could happen in my life. And so as I was in that moment, a video came up on my phone that was by Miss Sarah Jakes Roberts, Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts, and she had this sermon called Girl Get Up. And I thought it was so ironic that the words that God spoke to me was Girl Get Up. And then the sermon that he led me to was Girl Get Up. And that sermon lit a fire in me that let me know that I couldn't stay in that position. I needed to be in purpose. I had more and better things to do in my life. I had to help people. I had to help the woman and the man that was like me, that was lost, that was feeling like there was nowhere to turn, that was feeling like they lost themselves in a relationship, that felt like they always had to be with someone, the person who felt like this was the best that God had for their life because they were settling and really God had so much more for them. I had to speak to those people. And that is where the business First Love Yourself was born. I learned that when you really love and value yourself, that is where true value stems from. That is where your true self-worth comes from. It's from you loving yourself. And a question that I get often is, how do you love yourself? And it's funny because some people could say, well, you just got to accept yourself for who you are. And they make it seem like it's so easy. Like, it really befuddles me when people have this idea of like what their solution is in one sentence, like, oh, just move on. Oh, it's easy. Just do this. Like, no, it's not just that simple. It takes real work. You have to be really willing to want better. You have to be really willing to do better. You have to really know that when you love yourself, you refuse to settle for anything less than God's best for you. You have to know that you are beautiful, that you are smart, that you are intelligent, that you are the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath. You have to know these things deep down in your soul, in the pit of your spirit. Like, you got to know it, like, no matter if 10 other people tell you who they think that you're not, you got to know who you are. That's how much you got to love yourself. And when you're loving yourself, a quick like pro tip is the way that you love someone else, like when you look at someone else, or you have a daughter, a son, you have a family member, a friend that you love so much, the things that you would do for that person is what you have to do for yourself. If you wouldn't talk to your friend like that, don't talk to yourself like that. You need to speak positivity over yourself. If you wouldn't skip out on yourself, on your friend like that, don't skip out on yourself. If you're saying you're going to eat healthy, then you got to make sure that you start eating healthy. If you're going to say that you're going to start exercising, it might not look perfect, but you're going to start exercising. If you're saying that you want better in your life and you're like, man, I can't understand why my friend would settle for this guy or whatever else, then you need to not settle for that guy either, because you deserve better as well. You have to love yourself like, you have to love yourself like you know you that person. Like, you got to love yourself like you know that anything besides God's best is desolate. It's obsolete. It's not happening. You got to really love yourself like when you look in the mirror, you speak nothing but positivity over yourself. You don't cast a spell against yourself and say, oh, well, it's good for that person, I could never have that. No, when you say, God, send me the man, don't say, oh, but that will never happen for me. Say, yeah, because in my preparation season, you're preparing me for somebody that's going to treat me like Christ loves the church. Because you're preparing me in this season to be the best woman that any man could ever have. Because in this season, I'm prepping emotional intelligence. I'm getting so smart. I'm getting so, whatever your level is that you need to level up on is where you're about to be at. You cannot speak desolate over your life. You cannot speak negativity or cynicism over your life. You have to really love yourself. If you wouldn't say those things to your friend or to your child, don't say it to yourself. Like, you have to know your value. Remember why you're valuable. Like, it could be something as small as, my smile makes me valuable. My sense of humor makes me valuable. My intellect makes me valuable. Whatever it is, know who you are and what your values are. Know what your boundaries are, your healthy boundaries, so that you don't settle for anything less. Because when you don't know who you are and you don't know what you want in life, it's easy to fall for things that are not at your level, or things that do not do you justice, things that do not deserve you. So you have to really know where you're headed in life. If you're saying you're successful, don't just be with someone and say, well, he just, as long as he's a person. Like, no, being a person is not enough. He's gonna have to step up. Like, and that woman, like, she's not just gonna be able to just look bad. She's gonna have to be able to give you peace. Like, you're gonna really have to see value in yourself and know that you deserve more than just settling for anything. You need to settle for God's best for you. And God's best is way up here compared to where we settle sometimes. So you have to really know why you want better. And your reason why has to be bigger than your excuse to settle for anything less. Like you could say, well, it's good to have a person. It's good to have a person, but then when you still feel lonely in that relationship, is it really worth it? It's good to have a person, but then when you need someone who you can vent to and they don't listen at all, is it really good to just have a person? It's good to have a person, but then when you want to do things, they never want to spend time with you. Is it really good to have a person? Because it sounds like settling, and nothing good comes from settling. Your self esteem goes down. You start to become more insecure because you feel like, okay, well, maybe I don't deserve the best. Maybe I don't deserve better than this, but you do deserve better. You deserve so much better than you're trying to settle for. And I'm telling you right now, the only difference between you and the woman that's treated like a queen is that she refused to settle. The only difference between you and that woman who looks like she's got it all together and has this man that treats her like you've never seen a woman being treated before is because she refused to settle. The difference between you and the other person is that they had a vision, they had values, and they knew exactly what it was that they wanted. And they refused to settle. So the main point, refuse to settle. Do not settle for anything less than what you know that you deserve in life. And I'm not saying just be a stickler and bring out all of these unrealistic standards of the things that you think you want in a 3-page note of preferences for a person. I mean, actual healthy standards that really will help you be treated like the queen that you are or the king that you are. Know your value because you are valuable. You add something to this world. And I'm not saying that any of us are perfect, but never ever settle for less than God's best for you. So I did not want to be on here long. I got to go to bed. I got things that I got to do in the morning and everything else. I got to read the rest of this chapter of this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that I've been reading because I'm trying to get to the end of this book by next week. So by the end of next week. So I'm really trying to stick to my reading regimen so that this book can be completed because I'm trying to grow mentally, emotionally, and spiritually and physically. I'm working out. I'm eating healthy. I'm reading books to increase my intellect. I am spiritually growing because I'm trying to be in my Bible more. I'm spending more time with God. I'm doing all of the things that I could possibly do while I'm in this season of my life. So when God is ready to send me to another level with a person, with a job, with my business, with whatever it is, I want to be in preparation. I'm trying to be ready, so I hope and pray that you see your worth and your value and that you remove everything that does not serve you. So thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye.